All right, wherever you are in the world today, thank you for joining us on The Rise Traveler, unpacking conversations of sustainable travel. And we're really here to talk about how travel can be uplifting and inspiring, and take a look how travel can be a source of growth and development for all people in all communities. And here at the Rise Travel Institute, we are committed to empowering young travelers through education programs, research, study tours, and scholarships. I'm your host today, Amy Hager. And joining me remotely is James, CEO and founder of Justice Tourism Foundation in Uganda. So, James, thanks so much for joining me today.
Thank you. Thank you. I want to say hello to everybody who is listening to this conversation and watching this conversation. My name is James Nadiope, and I'm the founder and the CEO of Justice Tourism Foundation, a non-profit organization that focuses on, I would say, wildlife conservation, environmental conservation, and also focusing on the well-being of the communities where tourism takes place here in Uganda.
Okay. And I know that, James, you are speaking at the Rise Annual Conference, and that is June 11th. And I think some of the topics that you speak about and the background and knowledge that you have is where we're going to really dive into today. But I guess why did you start the Justice Tourism Foundation? What really drew you to this work?
Wonderful question. Thank you. I want to say that there could be, I think, three reasons.
Okay.
And one of the the main reason is that I realized that tourism is one of those, I would say, uh, tools that could create jobs, could empower communities, could provide financial sustainability, not only in Uganda, but across the globe.
Yeah.
And but when I saw so many tour operators, what I would call like conventional tour operators
Yeah.
arriving in Uganda in big numbers and heading to these rural communities where mostly tourism takes place, I realized that yes, tourism was bringing in quite a lot of foreign funds, foreign exchange
Mm-hmm.
in terms of money, and but then the local people that are living more at the where tourism takes place
Yeah.
were left more. They were more like like they were left behind, and there was quite a great sense of poverty that you could just see around most communities that are living adjacent to these national parks where tourism takes place. And I realized that I think there needed something to be done to change the
Mm-hmm.
way tourism should be operated, especially in Uganda, whereby the local communities could also be included in the tourism chain so that they can benefit from the tourism industry. And that's one of the reasons that made us to start Justice Tourism Foundation, to create a way of fairness whereby all parties that are involved in the tourism chain could be on a win-win kind of approach. The
Yeah.
guests would win and be able to have a great experience to see, the wildlife experience, but also, the local people that I would say that are the keepers of these wildlife could also benefit probably through, making handcrafts, which tourists would buy as souvenirs, and also see some of the areas where the communities are in great need, especially in areas of social services. For example, some
Mm-hmm.
communities that are living around the adjacent to the community, to the parks, do not even have access to clean water.
Okay.
access to to health centers, and access to better schools for their kids. And these are some of the things that activated my mind. And I
Mm-hmm.
thought that tourism, as they say, that is a force for good, could benefit these communities. And so we thought that justice, fairness, it
Yeah.
was paramount to be able to create sustainable tourism impact in the communities. And so we decided to start off justice tourism. The other reason was also, um, most tourists come in
Mm-hmm.
and experience the wildlife, but they are not told that Uganda is not just the elephants. It's not the lions.
Yeah.
Uganda is the people that live there, and it's the people that have the story about the Uganda. And I thought that it was important to change this scenario where tourists will just arrive
Yeah.
and get into these posh hotels and then travel to the national parks and back to the hotel, and then they fly out. And the only story they take back home was about the elephants, the
Animals. Yeah.
gorillas, and all the lions, and they would miss the stories about the people. And so, Justice
Mm-hmm.
Tourism Foundation came into force to create a pathway where tourists would come in and not only see the wildlife, but also have a corridor where they would go a little bit deeper and connect with the communities and be able to hear their stories and create that kind of partnership between the
Yeah.
tourists and the local people. And that was one of the reasons also why we created Justice Tourism, just to make sure that connection in a slow travel where tourists
Yeah.
would connect with the local people, hear their stories, hear their music, participate in the day-to-day activities, maybe going to the farm, harvesting coffee or harvesting beans or other stuff, just, having a cultural kind of experience with the
Yeah.
local people. And
Yeah.
then the third reason why we started Justice Tourism was to do with this kind of sense where, tourists come in and they're more like consuming and they're not giving back. And
Mm.
we thought it was important, for the tourists to realize that, there's a need for conservation.
Yeah.
There's a need for, protecting the environment where they are stepping and enjoying the tourism is protected. And so we thought that through Justice Tourism Foundation would create an understanding for the tourists to realize that there is a need for environmental justice to be able to
Yeah.
give back
Yeah.
to the places where the tourism is taking place. So it's about those three reasons that we felt was important to do tourism in a very different way and a unique way.
And so then knowing that it's important for you to raise awareness, for you to raise support for the Justice Tourism Foundation, what support are you in need of the most? Is it financial donations to your organization? Is it collaborations? What is it that you need as an organization to continue to be successful?
I think, I would say we would need financial support, but I think that's not the main, I would say the main kind of focus.
Yeah.
In our African uh, understanding, we have a saying that says that if somebody wants to go fast, goes alone. But if somebody wants to go further, he needs to collaborate with other people.
Yeah.
And so one of the reasons I would say that it's important to us to have international collaborators, people or partners that would collaborate with to create awareness and to be able to, you know, create that visibility for our organization, and in that process be able to, mobilize
Hmm.
clients or tourists who would be able to, come and participate in our activities, in our tourism activities, in a
Right.
more purposeful and meaningful way.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love that. So you mentioned about the tourism coming just for the animals originally. And one of the goals of the Justice Tourism Foundation is really conversations with the local people and to get to know the local community better. But I'm curious on the flip side, when travelers come to Uganda, are they sometimes unintentionally participating in something that they might not realize has a negative impact on the community?
I think in many times I would say that yes, most tourists come in unintentionally and with no intention and with no purpose. But
Okay.
basically, they do travel for the sake of an excitement to see the wildlife. But and that's it, without knowing that their travel may have a negative impact. And as I said earlier, that they may be much more like consumers, but not realizing that there is a need to either to give back to the social services, to the communities that are uh, in need of clean water
Yeah.
or in need of a health center. And so, in most cases, especially the international travel agents would only ferry the tourists to come into the country and do the wildlife safari, but
Yeah.
not really having that intention of giving back to the communities.
Yeah. And so then who actually holds power in tourism in Uganda? And who's left out of the conversations?
Uh, yes, it's unfortunately that international tour operators or tour
Hmm.
agents holds
Yeah.
the tourism, the power in tourism because they first of all they operate from the international interfacing with the clients. Secondly, they have the resources to to operate the tourism industry. They are not limited, and they have the capacity for visibility to be able to create awareness of the organizations of their tour companies wherever they are.
Hmm.
And in that case, they're they, as I say, they interface. They have the capacity to interface with the clients from the
Right.
international scene. And yes, and so you realize that from that point of view, most of the indigenous tour operators in Uganda, they are, I'd say, limited on funds, and in most cases, they can't travel to those international
Right.
exhibitions, tourism exhibitions, because they are too expensive, and also on the other side, you realize that yes, some of them have websites, but the visibility of creating or influencing
Right.
their website on the international market is still limited because it all takes funding.
Yep.
So, in the long run, you realize that the international tour operators still holds power in the tourism industry.
So then what do you think might need to change at a systematic level in order for tourism to truly be equitable for the smaller or more local operators, but even for the travelers? I'm almost curious, like, gosh, do they really realize when they're booking that experience how it could be negatively impacting the native people who are living there.
Um, I would say, first of all, as I said earlier, collaboration is a key
Yeah.
um, for the local tour operators in Uganda to collaborate if there is that kind of opportunity for
Hmm.
the international tour operators to either common ground, meet the local tour operators, have a conversation,
Yeah.
because sometimes it's hard for these local tour operators to travel to these international tour exhibitions where they can do the pinching for
Yeah.
their companies. And so I would, in my view, suggest that if it was possible for the international tour operators to, travel,
Yeah. Come to
meet
you.
the come to Uganda, meet the local tour operators, have a deeper conversation as what the local tour operators are offering on ground, and what matches or what aligns with their areas of interest in tourism. And in that way, collaboration will be a very great key for the local operators here, meaning that they would have, they wouldn't find it difficult to receive clients,
Mhm.
tourists. And in that way, there could be a fair kind of flow of finances that comes through the tourism, or the revenue that comes through from the tourism. And then the local people would be able to, share
Yeah.
a percentage of the tourism revenue to the local communities
Right.
in terms of of social services. Yeah.
Yeah, they really need that. So then talk to me a little bit more. What does justice in tourism actually look like from the perspective of local communities? Like I understand you to have like if the international tour operators would actually come and meet you all and meet you there, I think that's a beautiful example. But if you could paint a picture of what justice in tourism actually looks like from the perspective of local communities, what does that feel like for you?
First of all, as I shared earlier, is when we're talking about justice from the local point of view, um, the the essence of creating jobs. That's one thing for the local
Yeah.
communities, for the people on ground or the people that live in Uganda, especially the youth, in terms of creating jobs. The other aspect is finding ways of empowering the communities where tourism takes place,
Hmm.
and making those places a little bit much better than the way the tourists or the tour operators found them. In that case, as I said earlier, I'm more like repeating myself, like, in the sense of justice, is creating fairness for
Hmm.
all the tourism players or tourism um, chain participants, be able to, have a fair wage, a fair pay, fair,
Yeah.
um, we Justice Foundation is more like a voice, like we are like a voice, like a platform where we air out, the, you know, the areas that are affecting, especially like, for example, the tour guides,
Okay.
in terms of their payments, because
Mm.
for any trip to be more successful, tour guides must be well facilitated, not in terms of financially, but also uh, psychologically,
Yeah.
creating a better kind of mental health where they're able to, you know, to express themselves in a more health way.
Hmm.
Um, that creates an atmosphere where guests would feel at home, because in most cases, it's the tour guides that go out to pick the guests, have a conversation for the first time with them, drop them to the hotel. The next day, they're having, the guide with them for the last of almost up to 14 days or 21 days. And so sometimes the tour operators do not pay well the tour guides. And in that kind of situation, sometimes it creates a bad impressions before the guests. And so when we talk about just tourism, we are looking at the fairness, in terms of wages for the tour guides. We are looking at fairness in terms of wages that are being paid to to those that are working in the hospitality industry, the waitress, the receptionist, the support team that works at the hotel. All that is all involved in the tourism industry, creating a win-win kind of approach where everybody is happy. The guests are happy at the hotel. The staff that works at the hotel are also happy. They're winning. They feel like they have been given a fair wage.
Yeah.
The tour guides, they are also happy. They feel they've been given it a fair wage. And also the communities, whereby they feel like, they've benefited from the tourism or from the tourists or from the guests after, having a deeper conversation with the local people, visiting them on their farms. And then part of that money is left behind with the members of the communities. And that to us is part of justice tourism, meaning that everybody is winning.
So then there's two places that I want to go. You said something along the lines of that the Justice Tourism Foundation is a voice. And so I'm curious, if it's a voice, what do you think is a hard truth about tourism that people may not want to hear, but really need to hear?
Yeah, good question. I want to say that the tourist would love to hear the truth about tourism if they're if awareness or if they're educated on what it means to travel intentionally and purposely. But in most cases, the tour operators, especially the international tour operators, miss out this conversation with the clients, with the tourists, because they do interface with them and share with them how the itinerary is all about. But then, the hard truth is that they don't tell them that tourism is a force for good. They don't tell them that, and because if they told them that, then the tourists would be able to travel purposely with an intention to see that their travel, has an impact not only on the wildlife conservation, but also an impact on the communities. So the hard truth is that most tourists do not know where their money is being spent.
Yeah.
And and all what they do is to come, they enjoy, but then they don't ask if their money has an impact on the communities where tourism takes place. And that's very important. That's a hard truth that most tour operators do not tell their clients on where their money goes. Yeah.
I think that's a really good point, James. And when you think about someone who's booking a trip or a vacation, they're wanting to escape or have a really joyful experience and not think of what could be wrong with this world. But I think that not asking that question and not being thoughtful when we plan our trips is just going to continue to compile everything that isn't working correctly. And so, James, I'm curious, what advice would you give if I was planning a trip to Uganda? What are, a few decisions, 2 or 3 decisions that I need to be making as a traveler that would actually matter?
Um, I think if you are a sole traveler or you planning to come with your family to travel to Uganda or to any part of the world, I think the first thing you would do is to search either on Google or from any other travel agents where you're booking your travel to ask questions like, first of all, um, what's the purpose? That's the first thing. What's the purpose of
Yeah.
my travel?
Hmm.
And if that answer is answered, because there are several reasons as to why people travel. Other people would be traveling for a holiday. And
Yeah.
so, all what they want is basically staying in a very good hotel. They're on a vacation and, they just want to sit down and do nothing.
Yeah.
Whereas other travelers would be interested in, you know, an exciting adventure.
Right.
You would love to go, off the beaten path and, go a little bit deeper. And, so there are several reasons, but there must be a purpose. And I would say that that purpose should be intentional.
Hmm.
Like you're traveling and, you want to see that your travel is not only for fun, like you enjoy, yes. You can also have time to the beach, yes. You can
Yeah.
enjoy your vacation, yes, but also realizing that understanding that tourism is just more than fun. It's a connection with the people at the destination. It's, you know, um, connecting with the communities. It's connecting with the environment where your tourism is taking place. It's a way of, to me, of traveling with awareness, being conscious
Hmm.
of how you travel and how your impact would be felt at the destination. So in that way, I would suggest if you were traveling, coming to Justice Tourism Foundation, I would, share with you areas of needs that so that your travel is not just for fun, but I would share with you areas where the communities live, give you a background and their needs for social services. And
Yeah.
in that way, I do suggest you that part of your funds that you are paying to Justice Tourism Foundation is not only going to pay for your hotels, accommodation for
Right.
your tourism activities, but also I'll give you a hint that a part of that money would be able to, provide safe, clean water for the community where tourism will be taking place. And so to give you a chance to meet the community where your money is going to be spent, part of that money, so you could see the needs and be able to realize that your coming is not just like a hit and run, but
Yeah.
you'd be connected with that community. And so it's a long-term kind of connection
Relationship.
with that community. And so you'll be able for us to get back, build the or construct the well, if and then share pictures with you. And in that way, you have a story to take behind to realize that your trip wasn't just for fun, for vacation, but also it had an impact on the community. And
Yeah.
so we prepare you and share with you our way of preparing our itineraries and what it means to us in terms of the tourism. And that way you get prepared. And this is the missing link with, I would say, with other tour operators that they don't create that awareness to
Yep.
their clients. And in that way, the clients come in and yes, they do the other activities, but then they don't realize that the communities, their money would be beneficial also to the
Right.
local communities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then, yeah, James, I really understand the grand vision that you have for the Justice Tourism Foundation. I understand what you're trying to do, and it's a big thing. and the opportunity to really deeply impact and change many lives. And so I think my last question for you, James, is what keeps you doing this work, especially when it's hard? Because this is not an easy thing to tackle. So, what keeps you going personally?
Um, I want to say that one of the things that's more like my springboard is being a social
Yeah.
activist. I am I advocate for fairness, and I want to see that my time when I'm still alive, that I contribute to the creating a peaceful world
Hmm.
where every person currently living and those coming in the future would feel like there is a place to stay, better place to stay. And so I may not do much in any other way, but I think my living on earth has a purpose, and the purpose is to create uh, you know better lives for other people. And
Yeah.
so every morning when I wake up, I am thinking about that woman with a baby going down the river to collect the water. And I'm thinking that I think I'll contribute to her well-being,
Yeah.
and if I am still alive. And so this pumps me, and I'm able to wake up and I feel like, yes, I'll go out. I will be able to provide this clean water for this community. And you can't see, how big the smiles of all these women and how much you are leaving them from traveling 5 kilometers to collecting water. And so to me, I feel like the world is not fair, but I think we as individuals, we can contribute to create fairness for
Yeah.
some individuals that are close to us. And that's why I wake up every morning to be able to contribute my energy, my strength, my knowledge, my passion to make somebody have a better life.
Hmm. That is so great, James. We are so lucky to have you. And I think
Thank you.
everything you're doing at the Justice Tourism Foundation is really amazing. And if any of you are listening and you want to know more about the Justice Tourism Foundation, if you go to justicetourism.co.ug, that is their website. And everything that James talked about is just very beautifully displayed on the website. And there's different projects and different ways to get involved. But I do think that, the biggest thing that I'm taking away from our conversations today, James, is it really is as we as travelers are booking our accommodations, are booking our tours, if we're not asking who we're booking with, how is our money being distributed amongst the community that I'm staying in? Then that change is just going to continue to be an uphill battle. And so if we can challenge that with the people that we're booking with and just ask a little more thoughtful questions, that's something tiny that I think the rest of us can be doing to really support James in such a large mission. Well, thank you so much for being with me today, sharing your story and sharing a little bit more about Uganda. I'm super excited for your session at the annual conference on June 11th. So thank you everything. Thank you for everything today, James.
Thank you. Thank you, Amy, for availing your time and for speaking with me. And I hope this conversation will continue on the next time, probably during the conference. And I look forward to catching up with you soon. Thank you. And
Thank
let me wish you a great time. And all the viewers, thank you so much. And blessings to everybody.
Thank you, James. And that brings us to an end of our journey today. And if you liked what you've heard and you would want to hear more, please subscribe to our email list at risetravelinstitute.org/subscribe. And remember, here at the Rise Travel Institute, we believe travel is a powerful tool for positive, transformative change. And we'll be back soon with another episode. But until then, keep roaming, keep learning, and continue to be a Rise Traveler.